So let's put our hands together. Let's wake it up. Start it slow and speed it up. Come on now. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, Warren McCarthy!
I appreciate you. Okay. My mic working? Sweet. We are rocking, ready for business, ready to get into everything. So, yeah, this is just surreal. This is awesome. So, heard a little bit about me. So, just starting off, how I went from being a full-time student up at the University of Utah, basically pre-med tracked, ready for an anesthesiology residency. Pulled back from that, and now I'm doing 40K plus months in my real estate media business. So let's start off with that. I'll start with where I started before. So kind of like my story and build on top of that. So we'll get kind of personal, get into like how I started, why I started, where I was, what I was doing during the process, and then build on top of that where I am now, and honestly looking forward into what McCarthy Media will be doing later on. So me, had a little bit of an intro. I was working in the operating room from all of college. So during college, I was pursuing a biology bachelor's degree, minor in chemistry, teaching part of the anatomy curriculum up at the University of Utah, and working in the endoscopy suites and lately, the operating room. The operating room was fantastic. Worked alongside the anesthesiologists doing like partnering in research, partnering with them like as supportive staff and assistants in dire scenarios. That was my life. That's where I came from. Subsequently, I was also a pre-med, ready for a full ride master's program up at the Huntsman Cancer Institute, and going on from there into medical school. I was looking into anesthesiology, had a few open paths, open and ready, that I was like, okay, I could do this or I could do a couple other things. But moving on to, from my story to why I started real estate media. So real estate media, I think we have, like a lot of people here have some similar goals, whether that's removing yourself from the business, or maybe you want to be involved in like the client side of things, or enjoying time away from business, doing something else, some other venture, and having this run individually or like independently, like outside of what you would be doing on a day-to-day basis. So that's kind of where I started. I was like, well, I want to have a lot of time with family. Family is paramount to me personally, and as I was like going through the motions of my pre-med requirements, everything that the university was requiring, everything that I was investing in, 10 years down the line, at the time I was 22, 23, and I'm now 24. So as I was like going from 22 years old to 23 years old, I was like in 10 years, as a 32, 33-year-old, where is my path? Where does my future lie as I'm pursuing medicine? 32, 33, I would be the tail end of residency. That was 2 years of a master's, 4 years of medical school, and 4 years of a residency. Be a senior resident, basically ready to practice unless I did a fellowship, unless I also added on teaching, more of the curriculum at the medical school. So that's where I was like, well, I'm combining maybe running an anesthesia lab, teaching at the med school, a full practice, teaching anesthesia residents and fellows, all into one person's schedule. And I was like, well, as an anesthesiologist or medical professional in general, for most cases, family is already a back burner topic. I was like, honestly, I'd love to do this. However, it is just not for me. This will not treat my family like how I would want to be treating my family. It won't treat me and fulfill me as a person. And that's why I started to move away from medicine. And another point is I wanted to start some type of legitimate business. When I was like 11 years old. There's a trailhead near my parents' house. I bought a cooler. It was like an icebox cooler. I bought some ice, and I bought some water bottles. I was like, you know what? I could just throw a Venmo code on top of this water chest and have like ice water during the summers, and just like people like come by, they'll Venmo me a few bucks, stuff like that. All of my water was gone. All the ice was melted. And I got $5. I was like, okay, that was a big loss. I'm like in the red, maybe 98 bucks or something. And I was like, you know what? Like entrepreneurship is cool. Like just thinking about like, these ideas and like kind of pioneering them, and then going in a good direction, a sustainable direction, is fantastic. And so I was like, you know what? If I'm going to start something, I want to make it with the intent of it being incredible. Not just like, oh, I do X, Y, Z. It's more so like, this is the company that I run. This is something that I've poured my life into, have poured my intent into, and something I really want to pioneer and take to the next level. So prior to May 15th of 2023, I was working in the OR. We went over a little bit of my bio major, chem minor, teaching the anatomy curriculum, and that's me smiling while I'm on my night shifts in the operating room. That I was like, I forget exactly how many hours of sleep I was missing out on, but it was a lot. So during May 15th was like the official start of business. I started where everyone else started, like $0 a month. Maybe had like, I took some headshots, or maybe I did like a couple engagements in the past, or some portraits for friends, but I had zero experience in the beginning. I was like, okay, I'm starting out, this is what I'm cultivating, and starting from absolute ground zero. But one of the biggest things that helped my growth specifically, because overall, like having a great structure to not only have implemented into your business, but also to take you to the next level, that was me with coaching. Coaching brought incredible structure from the ground up, especially when I started. So I wouldn't be making those mistakes that other business owners might make along the way. It was like a very clear shot approach into growing something from the ground up, and incredibly appreciative for having coaching from the beginning. And I honed in, I remember it was like week 3 of like starting business. I'm like, okay, I'm going through the motions, I'm doing my checklist, I'm doing everything that I need to be doing. But one of the biggest things that people in either coaching group or just overall business was they had one big pitfall. And it's like the thing that sometimes, some of us might love it. I think others of us might not love it as much. And that is a monstrous amount of outreach, getting outside of your comfort zone, going to events, getting people on the phone, doing the Instagram DMs. I remember like my first 50 sucked. I was like, this is like, am I even in the right spot? But just like sticking to that and really getting out there via outreach, or however that you really enjoy networking and connecting with people, that is what I leaned into. So outreach, however you acquire your clients, I saw so many posts on like Reddit. They're like, you know what? You don't even need coaching. You need just YouTube and like pioneer it from there. Everything you need is on YouTube. But those exact people did not have a business, or they had like a $0 to $1,000 a month business. I was like, okay, you know what? It's the Redditor who said it doesn't work was wrong. The incredible amount of outreach was something that I really leaned into. So it was like week 3 of coaching. I went from 0 DMs, having my platform basically like built out. I had an Instagram with 9 posts. And then from there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to lean into the weak spot that most people fall through. They're like, okay, well, I need to get my website done. I need to get my shirts done. I need to get something else that is not a high leverage task done, because they are pulling back and like, well, all the magic that needs to happen is in the work that needs to be done. We've touched on that a little bit, and that's exactly what I leaned into. For me personally, it was the Instagram method. Sending DMs, sending either personalized or non-personalized videos to agents and networking with them. And also, we've touched on a few of these other points too, like connecting versus soliciting. like really going in, it's like, hey, like this isn't just great house comments like the house emoji or something to that end. It's really going in and connecting with the realtors, their business, where their aspiration lies outside of just business. A lot of my friends or realtors who have become friends, like one of them is like she always goes to her daughter's softball games without fail. She's done like 40 million plus GCI this year alone, but never misses a game. And I was like, you know what, I admire you so much. You're like really going out and prioritizing the things that are important to her in her personal life, and prioritizing family time. I was like, you know what, I resonate with that. I think that is fantastic, and I really connect with you there. And then building and fostering that relationship on top of my personal aspirations and like really connecting as two people and connecting with so many others, I was like, this is the spot. And that's why I leaned into a ton of outreach. But outreach isn't just sending an Instagram DM here and there or like, congratulations on going under contract. It's fantastic. I'm excited for your clients. But it's also investing in more so like personal development. For me, I'm based out of northern Utah. And for me, I was like, you know what? The investing side of things is really cool. So what I really honed in on was not doing just Instagram outreach. I'd be going to the investing seminars. There would be people doing like fix and flips, or they're doing like, here's like your house hacking method, or like doing different types of seminars. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go there not just to meet the realtor, but I'm also going there for my own education. Like while I was pursuing medicine, education and an active learning, like status quo, was what I really wanted to pioneer. I was like, okay, well, I'm taking my learning away from medicine, but I'm really diving into the personal presentations, investing seminars, like even dropping by like some other like board of realtors event, something of that end, and just investing in educating and surrounding yourself with a pool of people who you resonate with. I think it was fantastic. And I'm also a workaholic. I love to do that type of thing. So doing some like open house pop-bys, but also like pursuing personal milestones like with the softball clients and everything like that. Things that are in real estate, outside of real estate, finding some type of personal connection, I think was fantastic. But moving on from that, one of the biggest things, so I started May 15th, 2023, and there's always going to be like some type of crux, like personal crux, like getting over some type of obstacle or some type of like task that has to be done. And I had two major turning points in my business. So one, I started May 15, 2023, and then from there, I switched from day shifts to night shifts. I was like, I can't go 12 hours working 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I can't service clients. Luckily, while working in the OR, the night shifts were available to me. I was like, okay, I'll work, but I'm gonna work 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And then from about 7:30 in the morning, I'd be doing everything business. Sounded like a perfect idea, but the sleep wasn't there. And it in fact wasn't there for 8 months. So I was running a round robin of 72 hours-ish, give or take, of staying up at night, being in the operating room, being there and present for the anesthesiologist as their assistant staff, and running a business from 7 a.m. to like 5:30-ish p.m. during the day. And I was like, you know what? While I'm doing this, if I'm gonna run a business and I'm gonna work a job, and I have a master's program to attend in August, late August of the same year, I was like, there is no way I am pursuing that master's and having three things going all at once. One thing is honestly the number one. You just need to have one thing. One thing, hone in on it, and I was like, okay, great. I am in my position, I'm dropping the master's. The master's, like, it took a weight off of my shoulders. I was like, okay, I can finally breathe a little bit. Not sleeping enough, but that's fine. And I was like, you know what, at that time, I was doing more like in revenue and also take home than I was even getting at my position. So I was like, well, you know what, I had all of these issues come up. I was like, this is something I want to keep, and like, what if I have to have like a fail-safe to fall back on? But that was a thing that I was like, shoot, I should, in retrospect, I wish I had left earlier, right? And turning point number 2 was me leaving those nights. When I left those nights, business absolutely exploded because I was like, well, I came off of nights, I'm investing my will, my effort, my time, my mental battery, my energy into just one thing, and that's just building the business, like taking it from where I had it in May at ground zero to past the 10K, 20K mark, 30K mark, and really investing in all the activities, the high leverage activities that needed to be done in order to move myself forward, in order to move my personal life forward on top of that. So I got off nights, February 1st, 2024. I was like, super, super excited. I posted on my story. So like all the realtors I was working with, they're like, you need to get like some sleep, man. That's just like, I don't know how you do that. So I finally got off of that, and it was just a sacrifice. It was a sacrifice I was willing to make. We all make some type of sacrifice, whether it's like a priority or something else in either business, personal life. We will always have like a fork in the road. Decision 1, decision 2, outcome 1, outcome 2. And this was one of them. One of the biggest turning points in my business and launching it and growing it. But after going all in, everything that I'd done from May up until like February, March, it was all coming back. All the hours I poured into outreach, all like everything that I threw into client acquisition, into building more systems, into like understanding what my target market was and resonating with them. I had like some other things going on. I was like, you know what? Like all of the efforts that I invested, they will always come back. Maybe not full circle in 3 days, 4 weeks, or like even 2 months. I've been having people that I've reached out to over even a year ago. And they're like, I finally got a listing, and I'd love to work with you. I'm like, I know I sent this. It was like at 3 a.m. It was a 3 a.m. video while I was in the OR. And I was like, hey, my name is Warren. I'm a real estate photographer here in the area. I'm actually wearing my scrubs here in the operating room. I'm working a night shift. And I'd love to do a free shoot for you on your next listing. I just want to put some goodwill out there. It's going to be an absolute vibe. I'd love to connect and really just go from there. Test the waters, see how the energy is, and I just love to work with you. So I just put that energy out and had the servant mindset, basically. Like serving my realtors, serving my clientele, and really going above and beyond. And they're like, you know what? Like, this guy's hustling. I'm hustling. I'm a new realtor. And I see this guy really working in the OR. I resonate with him. I'd love to work with him. And honestly, like, there was a lot of those that really came to fruition at that time, like from sending the message, and then they finally get a new listing. They're like, there's so many real estate photographers who have messaged me. 6, 7, maybe like 10 plus. But I resonate with you for this reason. I love to work with you because of that reason. So that was a big thing for me. Like all the investments, everything that I threw in, it came back. And from doing absolute zero to getting up to $40,000 a month, I was like, in all honesty, I will be like upfront, I will be frank. I was like, well, you know what? Like when I passed the 20K mark, I was like, I'm like top of the world right now. This is just awesome. Like I've never seen anything like this. But I was doing it as a solo operator. Like one of the biggest things that I wish I would have done earlier was implementing an infrastructure, like building from the ground up. Like I basically tossed like a rocket into the sky without a parachute, you know? And I was like, you know what? It's gonna be great. Like I can manage a workload. I'm a workaholic. Like this fits into what I want to be doing. But I took a step back. I was like, wait, workaholic mode, 32, 33 years old, working as an anesthesiologist or other medical professional, that was the exact thing that I didn't want to do. So I had to step back, and I was like, okay, I need to realize what's going on. I need to start implementing infrastructure and having VAs, start having a team to support me. I got up to the $44,000 a month mark solo. I did everything. I was like, this is just crazy. I was like working lots of hours. I had everything going on, and it just wasn't hitting. It just was like, okay, I'm doing a revenue mark, but am I actually investing in like my systems? Am I investing in my company? Like if I'm gone, if I got sick, or say if I got in a car accident or something happened, that was gone. Like if I had to pull back to attend to family who got sick, it was gone. I was like, I cannot have that. And that scared me so badly. So now, it's like where we are today. We've started to implement a team. And even, it was like 3 weeks before this conference, it may have been a little bit longer, I actually had 2 photographers. Now I have 1. But I was like, you know what? I'm building a team. I have 2 photographers. And then we've talked a little bit about how some things hold you back mentally, right? And this was one of them. My first photographer has been doing great. My second photographer is like, you know what? I'll come to Vegas. We'll be super happy. It's going to be awesome. They'll be fully trained, ready to go. They can take all the workload while I'm away. It was 8:30 a.m. in the morning. We actually hopped on a call with one of our coaches, and we're like, you know what? Like this is great. We're taking the next steps. We're going to be like increasing our outreach, doing our client acquisition. I finally have some more time back in my hand that I can do all the CEO things I need to be doing. And then Daxie, the co-owner, she got a call from our second hire, and she was like, you know what? I'm not going to show up at the shoots today. And she quit on site. And there's like a whole bunch of work that needed to be done. I was like, you know what? It's okay. We were on the call with Brad, and he was like, okay, this is an adjustment, kind of like a very rapid reaction time adjustment. I was like, what do we do now? And it was just like re-grounding myself. Like, I feel like sometimes we get super, super anxious. It's like all of this stuff is falling on me, and like everything's starting to crash and crumble. But in the long run, I was like, wait, hold on. If they did this later on, when I thought I could like have them for X amount of time and then drop the ball later, I actually just dodged a bullet. I also learned that from the MVP mastermind yesterday. I was like, hey, like this situation happened to me, and it was tough. But there will always be those roadblocks. There will always be those barriers that you have to work around. Nothing will ever be streamlined. And so I just took that lesson. I was like, hey, it's fine. Sometimes, some days, I'm still like not to terms with it. I'm like, I could have been growing even more and more and more. But just taking things as they come, educating, like learning, and like being in the coaching program too, it's been invaluable with how being like, I used to not always be very good at turning and pivoting. When I turned and pivoted into real estate media, I was like, what about being a doctor? But finding ways to do like those micro pivots, micro turns, micro pivots, and moving into a new direction that has great value and kind of like helps me grow as a person has become increasingly easy. It's not ever going to be super, super easy. Maybe later down the line, I was like, okay, it's working, and that's great. And so behind all of the like, wow, I got from 0 to 40K within just barely outside of a year. And I had like other people like, congratulations, that's awesome. I was taking that as a win for myself. I think that was great. But behind the scenes, there were so many struggles, an incredible amount of struggles. Whether it was my health in the beginning, going on nights, and just, I lost 15, 20 pounds, and I was pretty light already. I was like, this is just not it, right? And during the whole process, I was like, I want to quit so badly. Like I had one client who was just like upset with me with like the work that was being done, and some of the things they were saying was like it wasn't my fault, whether something happened with their client or they lost the listing due to other reasons. And I was like, I was trying to shoulder that burden, and I was like, I want to get out of this as soon as possible. This just sucks. And then having that support system, especially having Kenny, Daxie, my co-owner, just like chatting with them. I was like, hey, like I'm facing this. This has been really hard. I know I've had like these wins, but these struggles are really hurting. And it's just getting regrounded. It's like, hey, like it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Has your business like absolutely disappeared? No, it hasn't. It was one client. It was one house. It was one thing that you just had to take and then pivot and move. And I still get imposter syndrome too. Like even like coming up to the stage, this was actually one of the goals that I had. First one was speaking last year. The second one, I desperately wanted to be in some of the marketing and advertising materials that the REPP coaching team has. And I'm like, yes, I finally got on there. That's awesome. And then my third was being on the stage again today. But still, like even going into those motions, I was like, this is tough. Like I don't feel like I have a spot here. Can I even make it in this space? Despite all the wins that are going on. That was still going through my head and still does. But making that mental barrier of like separation, like, hey, this is what's really going on, switch into the other side of your brain, and then continue on from that. And like another thing where I was like, well, I wanted to quit so badly, I don't know if I could make it. There was a lot of difficulty delegating tasks because I had a lot of stuff going on. I was like, you know what, I want to micromanage. I didn't want to micromanage, but I was like, I need to get to this. And I still sometimes do not have that boundary. I'm like, that's something I really need to work on. Having that separation, having that 5 p.m., 5:30 p.m., like take me out of the business so I can spend time with family. That was so, and is still, incredibly difficult when I see like an Instagram DM come through. It's like, hey, Warren, I want to schedule with you. What are my next steps? Or I have this listing. I'd love for you to come shoot it. Or this is a problem. Like one of these photos I don't think is good. Like, and I wanted to like hop in. I was like, I'm ready to tackle this problem head on. But then that cost me my boundaries. I could not step out of the business. I didn't have separation from that business. I was actually listening to Todd's podcast recently with his co-host. And I was like, you know what? Like losing that separation, that boundary, it was impacting everything else in my life. And it just went in like a big circle from point of impact to the fallout happening and then trying to recuperate, and then another issue happened. I was like, this is all because I did not have that boundary and the time to delegate my tasks, to delegate what I need to be doing, or if I can shift that off to someone else, i.e. VA or another team member. And that also ties into the time management side of things, where I wanted to do absolutely everything all at once, but I, one, did not have the capacity to, and then two, dug into the part of my business where I was like, well, if I'm doing absolutely everything, I don't have time to do more outreach. I don't have time to do more X, Y, Z. And that's where compartmentalizing a lot of my schedule started coming into place. We established more infrastructure. I was like, you know what? I'm feeling way better about growing this business by implementing more structure, more time dedicated to certain tasks, more time dedicated away from the business and working on myself, working on my team, working on relationships, working like with my clients outside of business and getting to know who they genuinely are outside of their real estate business. And so that kind of ties into one of the, so I love teaching. I wanted to teach at the medical school after like getting an MD license and everything, and I think teaching is just way fun. It's like a passion of mine. That's why I taught the anatomy curriculum. Part of the anatomy curriculum, I was basically preceptor for like the anesthesia stuff at my job. And I was like, you know what? I'd love to give a piece, just a small like lecture piece that can be an actionable take-home message for you guys. And little context, this is me with my cat writing my letters to some of my clients. And so when looking at this chart, there is a time distribution of what we're doing on a daily basis, whether that's shoots, whether that's doing some outreach, whether that's you running your social media, going on Canva, making your templates for like XYZ. And it goes from left to right. There's action time, which is doing a lot of things that are building your business, building new business, like creating new business. There's the income time, which is great, being on shoots, getting paid, and just like tossing out the drone in the air, like, okay, we're having a good time. Then the miscellaneous thing, everything else that falls outside of action and income time. So this could be maybe like hosting events or sometimes sponsoring events. I would say sponsoring events goes more so into action time. But like going out to events, like, hey, this is my networking opportunity. This is what I want to do. This is an investing seminar. I'd like to chat with the guy who is hosting this seminar. And so going from action time, a lot of action time will lead to the income time. The income time will lead to miscellaneous time. And I think for the people in the room who either have not started their business, have started their business and are going from 0 to say the 10K mark or the 0 to XYZ mark, what I wanted to do initially was like, you know what, like I can get the website, I can get the merch, I can get everything, but that's all falling in miscellaneous times. We also see this with agents. They're like, you know what, I don't want to go contact people. I don't want to have conversations with other people. I want to build like my website. I want to like build my social media. I want to do like all this like CE training. I want to do all this other stuff. And they get locked inside this miscellaneous time. And I feel like that's natural. That's natural for a lot of businesses, including ours. And so taking all that time spent in miscellaneous time and pulling that and really driving into action time, calling clients, cold calling clients, getting referrals from clients, making sure you have like an outbound message or having a VA sending outbound message like 24/7, 365, and doing brokerage presentations, finding people in those brokerage, getting those lists, plugging them into your CRM. That is all action time. And then when they get those listings, you're out on shoots. You're developing a team. You're teaching your team. And then growing your business and the people around you. So it goes from left to right. Action time leads to income time, leads to miscellaneous time. But if we take the first letter of each, working backwards, if we're spending our time in miscellaneous time, our business is going MIA. Our business is missing in action. We're not working on our business, growing it. And I've also been at fault. I have lacked on action time. But when I was starting my business, I was like, action time is the thing I need to do. I can't get other clients if I'm not reaching out to them. And so we aim toward our goal, aim toward our revenue goal with AIM, action, income, miscellaneous, instead of becoming MIA. So that's something I'm just gonna leave with you guys today, just like a little bit of a framework. It's like, hey, really double down on action time. And like, look at the cost acronym. If you need to build your team, you need to build your team. Action time acquiring more clients is not gonna help. Or if your systems are out of whack and things are breaking, spend time on systems and like alternate. But that in and of itself is action time. Like correcting things in your business, going out, finding new opportunities and new business at the same time. That is the thing I'll leave you guys with today. So what it boils down to is we're all building our business. I'll lean a little bit into what personally I need to be working on for Warren. Where is McCarthy Media going to be going? And so we have a couple goals. We'd love to expand our team. And arbitrary revenue mark, 75K a month. But that's kind of besides the point. What we want to really be doing is fostering and create new relationships with everyone in our markets, from realtors to short-term, long-term rental holders, to even stagers, other people who are in our industry. One of the biggest things that I think has differentiated my business from other real estate photography businesses is I'm always at the events. They're always like, Warren, you have an omnipresence. You're always like reaching out to me via Instagram. You're like hitting all my posts. You're here at every single event I'm going to at the board. Like, how do you do it? And it's just being very intentional about the action items that we've been doing. And ideally, with those action items, love to grab broker deals and everything built on top of that, preferred vendor status with more brokerages, expanding clientele. It's just a big circle of put in the work, get the clients, do the shoots, and put in more work, and just keeping on that cycle. And it's tough when there's a hitch in that cycle, when stuff happens, but if we make the excuse of like, oh, it's gonna be okay, or if it's going to like hold me back, like I don't want it to hold me back. I have to pivot, turn, and then move into that high leverage, actionable items that we all need to be doing, we are doing, and just need to do like an insane amount of. So basically, that is all I'm going to leave you guys with today from my story from starting out at absolute ground zero, building a business just after a year to 40K a month, and then the trajectory for moving forward. So, but that's what I'll leave with you guys today, and thank you so much for having me.